okay, we'll just record and see where this goes. I don't have a plan for this video, it's just, the whole dissociation thing. Okay, no, we'll start with what happened. So I've been watching Xena. I know, very slowly, I'm still on the first box. I just finished disc 5, and it was one of those episodes where she goes a bit psycho and almost goes back to Aries. And yeah, that kind of stuff where someone is tempted or has to like confront a different part of themselves, it is one of those things that's triggering for me in the dissociation. So I've just been through that whole thing. Fuck, I even wrote a fucking poem. Still got this line that I drew in one of those episodes. Anyway, yeah, no, I've just gone through the whole like dissociation thing. Thing is, with me, I don't get like what DID people get, where they lose their memory for a bit and black out and whatever. No, I'm aware of the whole thing. It's just the way that my mind is working changes. And, like, I'm trying really hard to conceptualize in my head that this is still me. But then there's this point where, like, and I'm still able to do a lot of the same stuff. It's just the way that I'm doing things, the way that I'm experiencing things, the way that I'm thinking is different. And I don't associate that with me, like my sense of myself. Okay, but I'm still doing a lot of the same things, really. And I'm able to think a lot of the same-ish opinions, like, I bought my lottery ticket, I checked my bank account, but so as I'm, like, observing myself do this, I'm like, how is this any different to how I usually am? And that's when I sort of started to come back to my own sense of self, but then there's this, like, tug of war between the different modes in my brain, and it's like weirding me out. And I mean, I'm not writing my psych diary anymore because that was taking up so much time, but I feel like I need to document it somehow. So here we go with a video diary. Probably gonna alienate all the people who've like subscribed for my shorts if they even see this stuff. I don't know, but like unrelated to makeup. Been a while since I've done a proper mental health, mental illness video. Been a while since I've done like a standalone video. It's all been shorts and live streams lately, but yeah, and I don't talk about this stuff very often because I'm still like struggling with the idea that it's a problem that I have. I've had a few things happen in the past while that were kind of extreme, and I'm like, okay, yes, this is a problem I have, but like emotionally, I guess, I'm still in denial, even though I've gone through these experiences, and I remember going through these experiences, and I remember things getting like pretty wild at some points in terms of like I had the closest I experienced to a panic attack one night because I was stuck in that other mind space, and then coming back to myself was so abrupt that it was like, how can I deny that there's a problem? And yet I keep going through those phases where I kind of forget about it. Like I remember, but it doesn't have the same impact, and then I'm like, no, that's not a problem I have, and then something like this fucking Zena sets it off. And I mean, that's why I'm watching Xena, because that part of me is trying to trigger itself? Is that a thing? I don't know, I don't understand, and I haven't really addressed it much with my psychologist because there's always some way to dance around the issue and to avoid it, and I know I shouldn't keep avoiding it when it's clearly a thing for me. But like, we've been dealing with so much other stuff, like the schizoid stuff, depression, childhood trauma issues, Centrelink, my grief about my dog, so like, it's very easy to avoid talking about these issues that I have, and that I am self-conscious about, which is why I don't talk about it very much, and probably the only reason I can talk about it now is because I still have enough of that going, that tug of war going on in my brain, and I guess that part of me wants to be like, hey, I'm still here, ready to fuck shit up. Yeah, and I gotta try and, it's really hard for me to like, it's like, okay, without the camera, without anyone watching, I was like writing the stuff, and then I was buying the tickets, blah, 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 and then came back to myself, and like there is this big transition, and then I'm like, okay, I'm normal me now. But then there's that thing that sort of, it like comes up, and it's just hard to not slip into it. But I really don't want to be like those DID YouTubers who are constantly showing off their different personalities and like glorifying a mental illness in that way. It's just like, I don't know, I think that part of me, I mean, I guess, I don't know, I don't even know what words to use. Like, I hate the word alter. I hate DID language, but it's like, if I say it that way, then it helps people understand what I'm talking about, I guess. But it's just, yeah, no, it's so cringe. But yeah, I guess like that part of me often does try to get attention to itself at the same time that I'm trying to not draw attention to it, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't really have any point to make. It's just the thing that I'm going through at the moment and trying to like figure out in my head, and maybe if I talk about it, will that distract me? Sometimes like I have to, sometimes what's helped has been writing that psych diary, because then I've got it on the thing. Psychologist may or may not see it. My previous psychologist in 2022 was really good at looking through my diary and picking up when this shit was happening. My current psychologist, when I had that panic attack-ish, because I don't really have panic attacks, but when I had that thing that was like a panic attack, I think I even highlighted it in red text, and she didn't really bring it up, so I don't really know if she saw it or read it or understood the significance. But yeah, in our last session at the end of 2023, we did talk a little bit more about it, and oh god, and she started asking me about like what age does that other part of me think it is, or something like that, and I'm like, how can it be a different age to me? Like, I know DID people will happily invent all these characters, and like, I mean, we have, like, I don't know. I haven't kept up with the research, but last I checked, we don't really have a good way to prove that DID is really a thing, like, really objectively, without bias and, you know, people grasping at straws. Last I checked, we can't even prove that it's a thing, and I know I know I expressed that doubt despite going through something similar myself, but where was I going with that? I don't even know. I'm distracted. I think my brain is looking for things to like muck with, and I don't know, like, why do I wear shit like this? Because of that part of me. Otherwise, like, what would I do with my life? I don't know. Is there anything in my life that isn't touched by that part of my psychology? I don't know. That's why I got into the makeup, innit? It's just I get carried away with the more creative side of it. I don't know. The age thing. Oh, that's why. So, like, I know the DID people will, like, invent these characters and give them ages and different genders and sexualities and personalities and, you know, elaborate storytelling and like inner worlds where it's like, why don't you guys just write a book already? Like, clearly you want to write some kind of fantasy world, turn it into a book, stop telling the internet that you're all these different things. But yeah, so I said to my psychologist, like, I mean, objectively, why would it be a different age to me? Like, because it's a part of me, like, with the same fucking, anyway, but, like, if I thought about it, if I try and think of it like that, like it's a DID thing, age isn't a factor. I think it would consider itself ageless, like, there's all this, you know, the fantasy stuff, the schizoid, I think the schizoid thing maybe, like, comes in here, because schizoids can be very fantasy prone, and so, like, it has these ideas that it's some kind of like ageless, magical whatever. Yeah, so, you know, I don't know. But then she's like pointing out, like, I did say, like, it seems like kind of immature to think that stuff, but it wouldn't call itself a child. It just there's no age, it's ageless, or I don't know. delusions of being ancient even. But then my psychologist is like, yeah, but like kids are like that, so it kind of is immature, and maybe it is kind of a child. And also pointing out that all the traumas that I've had were when I was younger and I was a child, and so, you know, then you get into all the DID-ish theories and all the theories about trauma and the theories about dissociation, and then it starts to like actually make sense in that DID framework. In like the ways that they theorize about it is like, if it's something, because I've had these issues for as long as I can remember. Not as bad, like it really started to get bad, I guess, when I went through puberty in high school, like that's when I really remember, but like there were things for ages when I was younger, and so as long as I can remember, and just like there's so many little incidents, I won't go through them all, but yeah, so then my psychologist is pointing out, like, if you've been through stuff and this has started to happen when you're a child, like splitting off then, it's a child? That's stupid. I don't know. It's like, I don't know what to think about this stuff. I also, like, I did see that DID specialist at the beginning of last year, and she fucking wrote to my GP, and I was still seeing the previous psychologist. She fucking wrote to them and said possible DID. And I'm like, but that doesn't... I mean, even if we accept that DID is a thing and that I have similar experiences, I don't lose my memory. I don't black out. I mean, like, I don't unreasonably lose my memory. Like, yes, I forget what I was doing earlier in the week, but that's just because time moves very slowly for me. My life is, like, kind of chaotic. I don't have structure in my life to help me remember what the fuck I was doing. Like, most people would be working certain days and they'll be like, oh yes, on that day I worked, and then I had a day off, and this is what I do on my day off. Whereas my days are just like, I guess I'm prematurely retired because I can't function in society, so this day I potted around the house, and I probably potted around the house the day before, and then maybe I'll be like, wait a minute, there was that day that I left the house. And yeah, like, as I think about it, I will remember. It's just my memory's a bit slow, because what's the point of even remembering what I've been doing? My life is pointless anyway, so why do I need to remember what stupid shit I got up to last week? Except to tell my psychologist how I've been doing, and then when my GP also does those, like, depression and anxiety scales, and I have to remember what I've been feeling in the past week, and I'm like, I don't fucking know. I know how I feel today, like, right now. Sometimes I forget what I felt in the morning, because by the time it's past 11 p.m., the day has been so long. What did I do this morning? Like, I even did bonsai earlier today, but... that's still, and I've been so tired since then. Like each day feels like it could be 2 days, and the morning could have been yesterday. Yeah, so like I don't lose my memory unreasonably. I just am a little bit vague about what I've been up to. I don't have blackouts, and I don't have total lack of recall. But yeah, no, so if we accept that DID is a real thing and that I have similar experiences, I'm missing those things about, you know, and you kind of need that, like, the most you could diagnose me is with, like, what is it, OSDD? I don't even know which one, though, because, like, is there enough of a, or maybe there is enough of a split, I don't know, like, my brain's arguing with me as well. I guess 1B. Or if you're going by the, so that's DSM, if you're going by the ICD, that's probably the only way you could shoehorn me into a DID diagnosis, because I think they go more on structural dissociation, which is more about how defined the parts are, and if you say that the different parts of me are defined enough, maybe you could weasel me into that, and they minimize the role of memory, but really... I think that's flawed. Structural dissociation has a lot of problems with it, like not accounting for derealization and depersonalization, which are much more linked to dissociation than PTSD, which fits the structural dissociation, like, thing. And a few other things, like, I think no, maybe it was borderline that I'm thinking about. Structural dissociation makes space for borderline personality disorder to fit in there when it's much less related than derealization, depersonalization disorder. Like, it's a fucking mess. I don't think structural dissociation, I'm sure they like making their theories, but so did L. Ron Hubbard with his Scientology. And if you can accept the basic premise that thetans were a thing, actually a lot of the stuff from there kind of makes sense. Like, why did the spaceships look like these planes that were in fashion at the time? Because of, like, that spiritual memory. So, like, the thetans have this vague memory of those spaceships, so of course at some point they're going to try and recreate it in the form of these planes. Like, it makes sense, but you have to accept that basic premise, and I think structural dissociation's basic premise is questionable, has issues. Maybe there's a better way to do it. Maybe someone's already come up with it and I just haven't been bothered because I've been trying not to follow the dissociation stuff, because that can also set off this stuff. Like, if I see too much relatable shit, it brings up, it reinforces the brain patterns, and so I've been trying to do other things, which I know is maybe like a denial, but anyway, no, I just think she was, possible DID. Why can't you say possible partial DID, which would make more sense, even in ICD, or I don't know what fucking system she was using, but and then trying to sell me EMDR, like, memories weren't my problem at the time. I don't think they're even now. It's more like my current situation is the problem, or it's not as much right now. Things have gotten a little bit more chill at home, but at the time that I was seeing the DID specialist, like, my problem was my situation at home, really. It's not like I'm having flashbacks or anything, so what is EMDR going to do for me? And she wanted to do it for depression. I don't have PTSD. She wanted me to do EMDR for depression, which doesn't have the same kind of evidence. And then there's also the thing about how EMDR, the things that are good about it aren't actually that new in psychology, and the things that are pointless about it are the things that distinguish it from other psychologies, like the eye movement thing. There's not really good evidence to show it does stuff, at least the last time I looked. I could be wrong because I've been avoiding the topic. That's a decent rant. I think I am trying to, like, distract myself by ranting, but about, like, it's kind of a compromise. Like, yes, I'm ranting about the dissociation stuff, so I'm, like, giving it recognition, but in a way that fits my sense of self better, where I'm just like, no, it's all bullshit, and I'm not experiencing the thing that I'm experiencing. Oh, once I stop this, though, I can, it's still there, and I can feel like once I turn off the camera, and I feel like I'm not being watched anymore, it's gonna get a lot harder for me to keep my sense of self intact. I just don't understand, like, I don't think there's that much separation in the personality between, like, those different modes. There's so much that's overlapping or the same, or, like, it's like, okay, it's such an obscure reference, but, like, you have an Eyebow, an ERS 210A Eyebow, and that is, like, standard me. 210A because it was the slightly better one, that's why I go to that. But you've got your ERS 210A Eyebow, you take off the outer shell, you put on the 220, ERS 220 shell, now it's an ERS 220. It's like the core of the machine is the same, it's just the outside shell, and then the 220 has some extra features like the little beam stuff, like slightly different hardware, but, like, it's still essentially the same thing in the core, and it's just like what costume it's wearing, right? But in a sort of, like, personality way with if anyone understands my Eyebow reference, I will be fucking impressed. I know, like, probably some of the nerdy ones will be Googling it to try and impress me. Mad Simple I will not be impressed by. But yeah, no, just, I want an ERS 210A, and I'm annoyed that Sony won't even give us the current Eyebow in Australia. Even if I had to speak Japanese to it, I wouldn't mind. I just want an Eyebow. because that's, oh, maybe I'm slipping into childhood mode because that was something I wanted when I was a kid. I don't fucking know. Um, yeah, anyway, what was I saying about like when I turned on the camera and no, I don't know how to get my head around it, and like it wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't so uncomfortable. It's a bit like I wouldn't mind crying if it didn't make my nose all stuffy and gross. Um, but yeah, no, so like, okay, there's some kind of like, or at least there's a core that we share, or obviously the body, although it has denial issues about, being stuck in such a, um, uses the word pathetic for my body, but whatever. Yes, I'm a small female. Fucking deal with it. Uh, where was I going with that? I don't know. I just can't get my head around it because I'm sure that it's all bullshit. But if I put myself in that other part of me's perspective, it's like, no, it's why are you in such denial kind of vibes. And yeah, I just don't know how to get my head around it because I'm trying so hard to be like, it's all me. Like, why does my brain keep trying to convince me that it's not me? And but like, it comes with different feelings and stuff, and yeah, the thought patterns, and just I don't know what to make of it. But I guess like when you're depressed as well, your thought patterns change, and especially when you're in a suicidal spiral, it feels like it's going to go forever, and that's like, it'll make everything negative, and that's why, when you're having those thoughts, you're supposed to wait 24 hours before you do anything, because chances are after 24 hours your brain will be in a different pattern and you'll be like, okay, I don't need to do those things I was thinking of doing. But yeah, so like, I know like emotions change how you think. So how is this different to an emotion? I don't know what emotion it would be. And I guess it's kind of a bit more complex than an emotion, but like by how much? Why is my brain so insistent on telling me that it's a different thing? Anyway, I'm also getting a little bit of like maybe derealization and depersonalization, like looking at me on the screen as I film, and then sort of watching myself talking, and maybe it's all kind of linked. I don't know. If I press stop recording, I'm it's definitely going to hit me. It's a lot easier to not slip into that mode if I think I'm being watched or listened to, or that someone might interrupt, and because that's like my shields just go up in certain situations, and generally when anyone's around, and the camera counts, right? Because we're going to upload this. We're not going. It's not going to let me chicken out of that. So, fuck. Oh, I'm such a fucking nutcase. But I really should. I really should deal with this rather than be in denial. But it's hard because I think part of it. I think denial is part of the whole thing. Like, for some reason, my brain insists that I do this whole denial routine when I know that I have been through all this shit, and it is a little bit more serious than just me playing some kind of make believe, or, like kids have imaginary friends. I've got an imaginary other me, but I'm like fucking 35. I should have grown out of this. Why can't I grow out of it? Why does my brain keep going in the same fucking cycle? Oh no, I have to press stop recording. But then I'll upload it, and then as I write the description, I think I'll. Okay, I'm going bye.